Welcome to Lab 4 of the Quiz Show project. In Lab 4, what we do is we add a for loop. So at the end of this lab, the program is going to print out the high scores list to the screen. So you open your project if you don't have it open already. So now you're going to declare two local variables so you can list your high scores and the people who got the high scores. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, right in our main section, we're going to declare our variables. They're going to be local. First one's going to be an array. The high scores, the five high scores. And we're going to have the array for the 5 high names. And you notice this is declared right when you begin the main function. So right under that, what we're going to do is we're going to list our array. First we're going to put in our high scores. We'll put some fake high scores in there. So here's our local variables we're going to initialize. The first array we're going to put in there is the highest score. And then we'll put a second high score. Etc. Then we're going to put in our arrays of fake names. You can use whatever names you want to put in there. You don't have to have their names. This is what's called a for loop. A for loop is something that it does things for a certain number of times. For example, for 10 times it says I is less than 10 when you start out with 0, so it's 0 to 9 for 10 times, right? You keep going, one right after another. So it creates an int variable just for this loop. It initializes it at 0. And it tells the computer how long to run it, how many loops to run it through. And this says make them one by one, increase them one at a time. So the example we just did printed out a list from 0 to 9. In this case, all you have to do is cout I, and then it just continues until it gets to the end. The computer takes I, adds 1 to it, and adds 1 again, and 1 again, and 1 again until it's no longer less than 10. So what we're going to do is, with this for loop, is print our high scores for the game. So let's look at this example here. This is a for loop. Int I starts at 0. And as long as it's less than 5, we increase it by 1. So it's going to be going 5 times, correct? So how many times are we going to write hello? 0, 1, 5, or it depends. Of course, 0 to 4 is 5 occurrences. So that's what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a for loop to our program. This for loop is going to repeat 5 times so that it can print each high score with the name of the person that got the score. So what you got to do is scroll down to the last closing curly brace in the main function and add a few lines and type the comment, print the high score list. Next, I'm going to have my cout command to type out high score list. Then I'm going to cout a blank line. Now I'm going to initialize my for loop. starting with my integer I for 0, going up 5 times with an increase of 1 each time. Now I'll add the curly braces for my for loop. So I'm going to see out my high score with the high score with the name with it. So it's going to look like this. So now we're on page 10 of our lab 4, where you're going to check your work. You're going to run your code. So you click debug. And when everything works well, of course, you'll get your box and you just put in your answers. And you should print out a high score list that you just printed out. Now, if your code doesn't work, check your for loop carefully. Make sure that you have semicolons in the right place. You have spaces. And you should be fine to go. But compare yours with the example on page 10.